I bought an antique mirror for cheap at a flea market. The seller looked at me and said, "Don't look into it at night." I thought it was just a joke until I actually looked into the mirror at 2 a.m. and saw a woman crying in the darkness of my room. It was me. But bruised, trembling. Her eyes were begging me not to trust the man lying next to me. I knew I had stepped into hell. I had no idea. What I brought home wasn't just an old object. It was a warning from the future, from the version of me who had been murdered. My name is Elena Rivers, 33 years old, a freelance interior designer, living alone in a small apartment on the outskirts of Salem, Massachusetts, a place still whispered about for its ghosts, witches, and unrested past. I never used to believe in the supernatural. I liked things that were logical, controllable. I hated the feeling of losing control. But what I'm about to tell you goes beyond anything science could ever make up. It all started with the mirror. The antique mirror I bought at a thrift store downtown, a damp, dim place, smelling of rotting paper and decaying time. I walked past and I don't know why I stopped. It was an autumn day, leaves scattered across the sidewalk, and I just wanted to buy something to fill the empty wall in my bedroom. The mirror was framed in dark mahogany, carved with Gothic patterns. It had a small crack at the top edge, seemingly harmless, but something in its reflection made my skin crawl. The shopkeeper was an old woman with ash-white hair. She looked at me as if she had known me in another life. "It's been waiting for you," she said in a husky, almost unreal voice. I laughed awkwardly, but I bought it anyway. The nightmare began on the third night. It was 2:17 a.m. I woke up feeling like someone was staring at me. The room was pitch black, lit only by the dim glow of the street lamp bleeding through the curtains. I turned over, looking toward the mirror placed at the foot of my bed, and I saw her. A woman stood inside the mirror. Not my reflection, but someone entirely different. Her hair was tangled, soaked as if she had just come in from the rain. Her eyes were lost, full of despair. Her hands trembled as they clutched the edge of the mirror. Her lips moved as if trying to say something, but no sound came out. I froze. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't look away. Then, in the blink of an eye, vanished. Nothing remained but my own reflection, pale-faced, eyes wide with terror. I convinced myself it was a hallucination from lack of sleep, but the next night, and the one after, she appeared again. Each time, she was closer to the surface of the mirror. Close enough that I could see her tears falling not onto my floor, but into some invisible void. I began to hear crying. At first, just faint sounds, like the wind, but then they grew louder, echoing in my head. Sometimes I'd hear my name, shattered in the air. Elena. She knew my name. That sent a chill down my spine. I started journaling each night, trying to find a pattern in her appearances. But it was chaos. She never showed up at the same time, but always at night, always in the dark. Once, I tried recording a video, but on playback, the screen only showed static and a long, strangled whisper, like someone gasping for breath. "He's going to kill you, Elena. Kill you, like he did me." I vomited after hearing that clip. I had been in love. I was about to get married. Adam Callahan, me fiancé. Tall, gentle, his eyes always soft like the late afternoon sun. He was the only one who made me believe happiness was still possible. We had been engaged for 3 months. Adam said he'd move in with me in a week. He wanted to make this little apartment our home. I didn't tell him about the mirror, about the sleepless nights, about the woman inside it. I was afraid he'd think I was crazy. But then, one night, I saw the tattoo on the back of the girl's neck in the mirror, a tiny black butterfly. I have that tattoo, on me, in the exact same spot. I began to remember things that had never happened. The smell of blood, screams, something heavy striking my head in the kitchen. A familiar hand tightening around my throat as I struggled, the disbelief in my eyes as I saw who it was. Adam. Flashes, like a corrupted video clip. I didn't recall ever experiencing that, but my body remembered. The panic washed over me like a tidal wave. The pain, The sound of breaking boneset was too real to be imagined. I started to believe the woman in the mirror was me. Not me now, but me somewhere in the future. A me who was murdered, a me who had died, and my soul was trapped in that mirror trying to come back, find a way out, find a way to warn myself. But if she was me, who had killed me? And if I did nothing, would I be next? That night, when I looked into the mirror again, she wasn't crying. She stared back at me, her gaze cold and sorrowful, but for the first time there was hope in her eyes. And she spoke softly but clearly, "You can change the ending if you dare." I used to think I knew the man I loved, but the first cracks are often too small to see until everything shatters. After that night, the night I saw myself in the mirror, everything seemed to slip out of my grasp. Not with obvious nightmares, but with subtle, slow shifts like a crack spreading beneath a flawless coat of paint. Adam still visited, still smiled, still said he loved me, still hugged me from behind while I arranged flowers in the kitchen. But he no longer looked me in the eyes for long. Whenever I talked about something, whether work or something trivial, he seemed distracted, like he was listening without really hearing. I'd catch him staring out the window, face thoughtful, like he was planning something else. He also started forgetting things. Forgetting dinners he promised, forgetting our little anniversaries. I'd ask, he'd laugh, brushing it off with work. "Things are just stressful at the office lately. It'll be fine, don't worry." But I did worry. Because I'd seen that look before in the mirror. That woman, the one with eyes that already knew betrayal. I began to wonder, had that future already begun? On the weekend, Adam took me to his parents' house in the suburbs of Marblehead, a white mansion overlooking the sea. Peaceful. So perfect it felt suffocating. His mother, Margaret Callahan, was a graceful, refined woman, dangerously sharp with every word. "Elena, you're pretty in that simple kind of way. Modern women usually wear more makeup. But well, if Adam likes it, then that's fine. You live alone? Doesn't it get lonely? Oh, but I suppose you're used to that." She said those things with a gentle smile and a teacup in hand, but they sent shivers down my spine. At dinner, she asked about our plans to have children. I was caught off guard, had never really thought about it. Adam didn't step in to support me either. He just ate silently, like it had nothing to do with him. I'm starting to feel lost. Like I'm just a supporting character in his family's play. One without a script. One day, Adam and I attended a charity fundraiser at the city's history museum. A formal event, evening gowns and red wine. I walked beside him, trying to keep my confidence, until she showed up. Julia Warren. Tall, elegant, ash-blonde hair tied neatly, eyes as blue as glacial lakes. Adam's ex-girlfriend. "Elena, right? Adam used to talk about you. So nice to meet you, finally." She hugged me like a sister, but her eyes stayed glued to Adam. And worse, he couldn't take his eyes off her either. They laughed, reminisced about old times, skiing trips in Vermont, some photo I had never seen. "We broke up because of bad timing," Julia said, not looking at me. "Not because the love faded." I stayed silent, my heart heavy. No one defended me. No one was on my side. I started noticing Adam always placed his phone face down. He'd step out to take calls. Sometimes he came home late, saying there was an emergency meeting. Once, he accidentally left his phone on the kitchen counter while he went to shower. The screen lit up, a message from JW, initials I didn't even need to guess. "Thank you for last night. I missed that feeling for so long." I nearly dropped the glass in my hand. That sentence, like a knife. But I didn't confront him. I deleted the message. Pretended I hadn't seen it. Because I was scared. Scared of losing the only thing keeping me from falling into the void. A week later, I found something in his car trunk, a necklace I'd never seen before, clearly not for me, along with a small card. "For the woman who reminded me who I am, Jay." I didn't ask. I didn't scream. I didn't get angry. I just went home, stood in front of the mirror. For the first time, I didn't see that woman. I saw myself. Truly, me, but hollow. My eyes reflected the same emotions I'd once seen in hers. Pain, hurt, betrayal, but still silent. I lay next to Adam that night, my back turned to him. The room was pitch black. I no longer saw the woman in the mirror. But I began to understand, maybe she didn't need to appear anymore, because now, the pain wasn't the future. It was happening, right now, in my life. There are cracks you don't see, until everything falls apart. I knew I would have to make a choice, and maybe it was time to confront. I used to think the mirror was the scariest thing in that room, but turns out, what reflects from the human heart is much darker. I began following the man I once loved. Not out of paranoia, not from blind jealousy. I did it because my heart couldn't bear another lie. Adam was no longer my Adam, but I needed to know, were those painful instincts just the tricks of a cursed mirror, or had the truth always flickered behind his eyes? And there was something about that mirror, about the woman I once saw, about me or some version of me from the future still waiting on the other side of the glass. It all began with an anonymous phone call. That morning, I received a call from an unknown number, a woman's voice whispering, "Don't trust Adam, he's done it before." I asked again, "Who? Done what?" But the call had already ended. I tried to trace the number. Nothing. But that warning sliced through what was left of my trust. I followed the trail of J.W. Julia Warren. I went to the museum, pretending to be a researcher requesting funding. Flipping through old documents, I found grant applications from Adam's company and email exchanges between him and Julia. Not just one. They'd met more often than I thought. One night, I waited for him to leave the house, then followed. His car turned into a small boutique hotel north of Boston. Julia came out to greet him. They embraced, kissed, not a kiss of old friends. I stood beneath a tree across the street, didn't cry, didn't scream, just numb. "So you know." A voice startled me from behind. I turned around. An older woman, silver hair, wearing a worn coat, eyes sharp as knives. "I'm Cassandra's mother, the woman who was once engaged to Adam, before you." Her name was Elisa Moore. Cassandra, her only daughter, had been a law student, dated Adam for nearly 3 years, then suddenly died, fell from the second-floor balcony of their apartment. Police ruled it an accident, but I know Adam killed her. She handed me a file, crime scene photos, autopsy report. Something didn't add up. Bruises on the neck, broken nails, signs of a struggle. The police ignored it. Because of who Adam is, the only son of Senator Callahan. I felt a chill down my spine. No, it couldn't be. Adam, he loved me. He never hit me, never even yelled. But was I sleeping next to a murderer without knowing? That night, I turned on the light, stood in front of the mirror, waiting. At 3 a.m., condensation formed on the mirror's surface. Even though no one had showered, the room's light dimmed. A figure slowly emerged. It was her, me, but thinner, paler, with bruises on her neck and trembling hands. "He won't stop. You have to leave." I whispered. What did he do to me? She, the version of me from the future, just looked at me, tears rolling down her face. "I died, and no one believed me. Don't let it happen again." I returned to Adam's house the next night. He was in his study. Wine, warm yellow light, jazz music playing like nothing had happened. I placed the file on the table. Photos of Cassandra, texts with Julia, the hotel evidence. He looked at them. His expression didn't change. "So you found out? Did you kill her?" Adam smiled, gently, as if I'd asked about dinner. "No one can prove it." "What about me?" I asked. "What will you do to me? Push me off a balcony like Cassandra? Or let Julia do it?" The look in his eyes then wasn't the man I loved. It was a black hole. No emotion. No regret. "You know, Elena, some people are born not to be believed. Cassandra was one. Do you want to be the next?" I fled that night, returned to my own apartment, locked every door, turned on all the lights. I dragged the mirror to the center of the room, flipped it over. There was a faint inscription carved into the wood. Spiegel der Wahrheit. The woman in the mirror only appears to those facing their own death. I trembled. It was German. It meant, mirror of truth. The woman in the mirror wasn't a ghost, not someone else. She was me from a real future, warning that I was about to die. I brought all the evidence to the police. They were skeptical, but they didn't arrest him. Adam was too careful. No evidence, no living witness. Julia disappeared a few days later. His mother called me, sweetly. "Elena, don't let your emotions override reason. Adam is everything to this family. You're just a phase." I understood. I wasn't just fighting Adam. I was fighting an entire dynasty, wealthy, powerful, and with a long history of burying the truth. That night, for the first time, I bought a gun. I knew I might die. But if I stayed silent, how many more Elenas would appear in those mirrors? I looked into the mirror one last time before leaving the house. Shimi was staring back, tears falling. But this time, there was something different. She nodded. "There are nights I don't know whether I'm alive or already dead and just haven't realized it. But one thing I do know for sure, this time I won't fall in silence." I stepped into hell with a torch in my hand. The truth is, revenge is never simple. Not like in novels or movies where villains confess and justice always wins. In real life, evil doesn't just have a face, it has money, power, and an entire system protecting it. But I had nothing left to lose. I was ready for the end, whatever it might be. The show began. I went back to Adam. No, not with a confrontation, but with a shattered nod. "I'm sorry. I was wrong about you. I can't bear losing you." Adam looked at me for a moment. His cold eyes seemed unconvinced, but his smile returned. A light touch on my wrist, a kiss as if nothing had ever happened. We were back together, at least on the surface. I knew he was watching me, controlling me. I smiled, acted, softened, and planned. 3 days later, Julia was found dead in a hotel bathtub. Deep cuts, blood covering the tiles. A note left behind. "I can't live with the guilt." The police closed the case. Suicide. But I knew it was a signal. Adam was erasing his tracks, cleaning up everything connected to the truth, including me. The mirror started bleeding. I woke up one night to see the mirror cracked. From the fracture, a drop of blood fell, then another. Then streams of blood flowed down the glass like bloody tears. She appeared. Me, but emaciated, sunken eyes, mouth whispering, "He knows. You have to hurry." I collapsed to the floor, gripping the mirror's frame. "How? How can I kill him without becoming a killer?" She didn't answer. But I saw the blood seeping from the mirror was pooling into the shape of a key. Adam's mansion had an old basement I'd never entered. He said it just stored old stuff. But the key unlocked a door I had never noticed. Inside was a dark room. It smelled of mildew, ash, and rusted iron. And there was a mirror identical to the one I had bought, but shattered, stained with dry blood. I found a half-burned file. Inside were photos of Cassandra, Julia, and me, the women who had entered Adam's life. Handwritten notes. "No one lives long enough to betray." I staggered back, trembling. This was no longer the man I once loved. This was a monster controlling, conquering, and erasing anyone who was no longer loyal. I went home, took photos of everything, sent them by email to my lawyer and a journalist friend set to auto-send if I didn't log in within 24 hours. I wore the dress Adam once said was his favorite, light makeup, as if tonight was a romantic dinner. He welcomed me with wine and candles, soft music, everything perfect, too perfect. "You'll never leave me again, right?" I smiled, nodded. "No, Adam, I've learned how to stay." He raised his glass. So did I, but I didn't drink. I looked at him, gently. "Do you believe mirrors can reflect the future?" Adam laughed. "Are we really doing this nonsense again?" I stepped behind him, led him to the mirror in the room. He looked in, his eyes suddenly darkened. In the mirror, he saw himself lying in a pool of blood, my hand holding a knife. Adam turned, grabbed my arm hard. "What are you doing?" I said nothing, just pulled the knife hidden behind the cushion. He shoved me against the wall, but I was ready. A fierce twist. The blade plunged into his shoulder. Blood splattered onto the mirror. He screamed. For the first time, I saw fear in Adam's eyes. We struggled. He punched me. I screamed. Bit, kicked, thrashed. Finally, I rolled toward the mirror. I saw her. Me. She reached out from inside the mirror. I don't know how, but my hand touched hers. A force surged through me like memories flooding in. I saw Cassandra fall, Julia begging. Me in the future curled up in a dark room, covered in blood, with Adam staring coldly. Then a scream. Adam lunged at me. I grabbed the mirror's frame, smashed it over his head. The mirror shattered. His blood mixed with the blood from the mirror. He fell. I wasn't sure if he was dead, but I didn't wait to find out. I ran. I poured gasoline. From the basement to the living room. Lit the fire. I stood outside, watching the house burn like the hell I had just escaped. The mirror, now shattered, gleamed with its last fiery red fragments, then sank into darkness. I didn't know how much time I had left. I could still be arrested, charged, but I was alive. And for the first time, I no longer saw the woman in the mirror. Only me with sunken eyes, pale skin, and a long scar on my left cheek. But my gaze no longer held fear. No one ever truly comes back the same after a murder, whether the killer or the survivor. When the police arrived, I was no longer at the scene. I turned myself in 3 days later, with all the evidence I had hidden, the recording of Adam's threats, the photos of the dead women, and most importantly, parts of the notebook detailing how Adam controlled, threatened, and psychologically tortured the women in his life. But justice is not as clean as we'd like to believe. Adam's family, wealthy and prestigious, immediately stepped in. They hired top lawyers. Instead of being a surviving victim, I was turned into a dangerous paranoid who fabricated a murder story to cover up a crime driven by jealousy. She burned down the whole house. She couldn't control herself. Just look at the letters she wrote. They ransacked my private journals, written during depressive episodes. Every word was twisted into evidence against me. I sat before the jury, dozens of cameras. Every time I spoke, the opposing attorney spun it into proof of mental instability. Do you truly believe that a mirror could show you the future? The question made the room burst into laughter. I stayed silent, too tired to explain things the world never wanted to understand. I never spoke of the mirror again. I spoke about isolation, about bruises hidden with makeup, about threatening phone calls in the night, about the gaze of a man who enjoyed watching others break. Some listened, some didn't. The trial dragged on for 3 months. In the end, the verdict was announced. Elena is found not guilty on the grounds of self-defense during prolonged psychological abuse. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just felt empty. I moved to a small seaside town where no one knew my name, and no one mentioned Adam. I worked at a library, quiet, minimal interaction. I saw a therapist weekly, took medication, wrote in journals. But some nights, I still woke at 3 a.m. and swore I heard Adam whispering at the nape of my neck. I still didn't dare hang a mirror in my bedroom. Until one day, I stumbled upon a shard of broken mirror hidden inside a box of donated books. It was tucked inside the cover of The Lost Souls, and I couldn't stop myself from picking it up. That night, I received a call from a hidden number. "Elena, you're still alive." I held my breath. That voice, it was Cassandra's. I found him too. I saw the mirror, but I wasn't strong enough. I died, but I'm still here. My death didn't end this. A mirror is never just an object. It's a passage. It's alive. I dropped the phone. The shard of mirror in my hand suddenly grew warm. That night I sat before the broken piece of glass placed on my desk. I no longer saw myself in it. Instead, I saw another Elena hair, longer, bruised, sitting in a dark room. She looked at me, stared as if she had known me for a long time. "You killed him, didn't you?" I nodded. "So did I, but he always comes back." I froze. Mirrors are where memories die and resurrect. In every timeline, Elena meets him, and in some she manages to kill him, but no one escapes forever. I clenched my fists. If that's true, I'll be the last. I'll trap him here forever. I wrapped the mirror shard in a red cloth and buried it under the old willow tree by the sea. On a small stone marker, I carved, "For the women who fought even when no one believed them." I don't know if another timeline is repeating everything. I don't know if I'm the final version of myself. But I know this: if someday someone sees a crying woman in the mirror at night, I hope she finds this story. And one morning, after months of darkness, I looked into the mirror again and saw myself. No longer a shadow molded by someone else, but me, whole, resilient, and one of a kind. I am Elena Rivers. I once believed in love and nearly lost my life because of it. But I survived, and I tell this story not to scare you, but so you'll know, sometimes what we see in the mirror isn't a reflection. It's a chance to rewrite fate. Thank you for listening until the end. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share, so more women out there will know they are not alone. Because sometimes, just one voice that believes in you is enough to change the ending.